This is either at the start or the end of the video. I said that I was going to make Theory 202, where I would explore keys and applied chords. After reviewing my De-Esser analysis, the stuff that I explained is just that. Applied, like, dominant sevenths, you just, whatever key you're going to, just a dominant seventh that resolves there. And then that's basically it. And if that sounds like shit, just put another one in front of it and then do that. Exactly how I got into the bridge that modulates from D-ish, A-ish to G. Just watch that video. That's the theory part 2, because that moves into different keys. And the reason I switch keys is just to make the song sound fresh. Like, that's it. It's just so that it doesn't get monotonous. I can't make a whole video about that. I'm sorry. That's all there is to it. I already covered it. I'm just dumb. Alright. Oh, God. I really hope this is working. Okay. Hello once again. Yeah, okay. This is gonna be a weird one. This is, first of all, different mic, shitty mic. Good mics are set up on a guitar cab right now. I'm going to attempt to make a video that both talks about some of my favorite free plugins, as well as a basic overview of all of the sort of basic mixing tools that I use. I'm gonna miss some stuff because I'm pretty tired and it's really late. Yeah, downward camera angle so you can see the messy room, wearing my own band merch. Let's just do it. So, here's the song that we're working with. New song by a band called Cryptid Click, which is a song, it's an ancient Acacia song that we recently did. So, alright, this is going to be in no particular order. Compression. Rough Rider 3 is currently my favorite compressor, just because, okay, so it's set to 8 to 1. It can hilariously go all the way up to 1,000 to 1, which it's just limiting at that point, you know? But, pushing it just has a nice,
I can only say sorry.
I don't know, it has a nice quality to it, which is great. So I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about compression or that I'm necessarily very good at it. What I'll tell you is the attack is how hard the signal hits, and the release you just gotta kind of listen for, but it's like tone, it's like squishiness. It's like squishiness, and I almost never completely wet mix compression. It just ain't how I roll unless it's like a specific situation. So typically,
Confessionals evade me. I can only say sorry.
just make sure that it's not like banging, you know.
No, that's never good enough.
In general, for vocals anyway, for a lot of stuff, the way I do it is I set up a compressor that would be something like, say, 8 to 1 or more. Fairly quick attack, fairly quick release that just knocks down transients. The thing is, this is going to be a little confusing because these vocals already have compression on them, but this will like spike at the start. It just knocks that down to normal. And then I'd use a second compressor, which I'm not because, like I said, he already compressed it, but something like this, TDR Telnikov. I've never had to say that out loud. Another great free compressor. That's my second recommendation. The thing is, it only goes 7-1, which is fine for normal people, but it's not for me. I like slamming shit. So, you know, if I was doing stuff that I do and this wasn't already compressed, I'd sort of
Confessionals
take that to knock down
evade me.
transients,
I can only say sorry.
and then have this
No, that's never good enough.
more just smoothing stuff
See,
out.
I've been drifting away from here. I've disappeared. I'm trapped inside my mind.
Just a nice smooth boy. Two great compressors. There's a lot of great free plugins that I just don't use that much. I don't know. Klanghelm, there's two cool things. I just haven't really used them much. Okay. So, compression, yes. Cool. EQ, that's a big one. Now the problem is, one of the main ones I use is this. It's not free. It's real expensive. You can maybe get free Pultec style EQs. I would recommend them. However, I don't have them because I paid a lot of money for that one. The one sort of Pultec-ish one that I have is, again, TDR, Slick EQ. It's 3-band. It's not like super fancy. It changes colors when you change the thing. That's fine. Low, mid, and high, and you can control shelf or Q. I don't know. I like this on guitars, on not much else. We'll do it when we get to guitars. Okay, so here's the main free EQ. TDR Nova. You'll notice TDR has come up 3 times already because they're good. Especially for free stuff. So, EQing.
Confessionals evade me.
Right off the bat, most of the time, unless it's bass or kick, I'm rolling off like to there. Like,
I can only say sorry.
everything below 100 is not stuff we need in the mix. It's just mud, basically. So typically I'll set that around here.
See, I've been drifting away from here.
EQ, obviously there's a million different ways to do this, but what I'll do is, like, first of all, how does it sit in the mix? I'm going to turn off this EQ.
Good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here. I've disappeared.
So to my ear, keeping it around here makes him punch through, and keeping him around here makes it sound really tinny.
Good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here.
His voice has a great brightness, and his voice is also really hard because it's very round and very even. However, if I was trying to make it kind of push through, I might do something like that. However, I would also take a really thin band and
Good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here.
that little ring.
Disappeared. I'm trapped inside my mind.
And then, in general, if you needed to cut through even more, scoop out some of the low mids. Keep the fundamental.
It's never good enough.
Usually you need this, but you can get away with these. So, okay, right, we're going basic, sorry.
Never good enough.
See how it does a boop and then does smaller boops forever. That's the fundamental, and then the overtones. You can research what fundamentals and overtones are, but basically it's like when you hit a note, our ears hear usually the fundamental. Oh god, it's so hard to explain what overtones are. Please just look up overtones. But the point is, different instruments have overtones that sound different, and that's what timbre is. That's what makes things sound different. And generally it's a fairly safe bet, just broadly speaking. Scoop out the mids, keep the fundamental in there. Sometimes you want to cut out the fundamental, that's fine. You can get away with that. Like, if we just dead-ass decided to turn... Bruh. Let's It's got that radio feel to it.
I can only say sorry.
But like, it's not the worst. But it's not what we're doing.
It's never good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here.
Yeah. Pull Tech EQs are a little different. Basically, you've got this controls low, these 3 control low, these 5 control high. You pick the range, 20 to 100, that's it. Boost and attenuate, and you can do both. And the trick is doing both creates these weird, it's just a pull tech thing. 8K I'm boosting with a fairly narrow bandwidth. If I had to guess, I'd say that's probably what I was boosting. Actually, no, well, 10K, 5K. I don't know. You can't be as surgical with a pull tech. Yeah. We're going to leave vocals. We're going to go to drums. And we're going to switch it up a bit and do something that maybe people don't think about as much. Shit, I don't know if that plugin's free. $50? Okay. So I'm going to briefly talk about transients. Transients are that initial impact hit. Transient shaping can sometimes be important. This is a free plugin. It's called Crack. Now, I use a very similar one, which I thought was free, called Transient Master by Native Instruments. It's actually $50. This does the same thing. Attack and sustain are exactly what they sound like. If you turn this down, it makes it more flubby, makes it, the impact, that initial transient, doesn't hit as hard. Sustain makes it last longer. So you can do something like this, make your kick sound washier. Or if you need to cut through, but it's like reverberating too much, you can make it really stabby. A nice trick that I use, electronic drums, if you want them to sound really weak and really, I don't know, more electronic-y, just take like a nice 909 kit or some whatever cheesy sample kit, put this on, just crank the sustain all the way down, maybe this up to here. It's what I did for, just shit like that. I really dig that sound. It's really fun. This also has like, okay, whatever, and a dry wet, which is, I guess, kind of cool. Yeah, you really only need these. Say your snare is like ringing too much. Oh, hey, look, there's a Transient Master on it with sustain, so mine wasn't ringing enough. Okay, don't get confused. This is the other one because it's the one I use, because apparently I paid $50 for it. Same shit. Exactly same shit. But you can hear it. Or if I want the opposite, and I want it to just cut through. Super important, overlooked thing. Not too much to say about that. Just thought I'd mention it. Okay. So here's the real one. Saturation is how I do a lot of the shit that I do. Now the thing is, the plugin that I use, which you'll see on every channel, is FrontDAW. I got it for free, but it's not free. So I'm going to show you 2 plugins that are free. But I highly recommend the one that I use. So, saturation is basically harmonic distortion in the upper range, which translates to, it just makes stuff sound sometimes a little crunchy if it's overdone, just makes it sound warm, makes it sound nice. I'm going to show you on drums, because I like drums. So, this is Softube saturation knob. It is free. It, I find, is limited because you really have to pay attention to how hot the signal is going into it. So putting it here on these loud ass drums is actually kind of stupid. This might be a little loud. Let's see how this sounds. Oh my god. Yeah, okay, that's nice and toasty. So, saturation does different things on different things, right? One of the nicest uses I can think of, or another use, there's so many. Okay, basically anywhere where there's FrontDAW, I should be plopping these down so I can show you. So, I'm going to show you 3, I think. So, saturation knob's the first one. The thing is, it's so easy to go overboard. You hear when it goes like, I don't like that. Just like there. That's a sweet spot. Just makes it hit that little bit harder. So there's saturation knob, BDB. I never have to say these out loud. Saturator. This is cool. This has tube and tape as well as a high-low cut. Now, if you're going to use this one and get in the habit of using it, having this here, just put it on everything. Put it on any low frequencies you're not using, slap it on everything. That's how I use FrontDAW. We'll get to that. This has a high pass filter. No, not again. At this point, it's like standard procedure with that fucking cat. Okay. So I'm going to try all of these different plugins on both kick drum and bass. I don't know why I'm low focused right now, just am. I don't know, man. I'm so fucking tired. With this one, tube is very growly. And tape isn't. Tape is more wobbly. In general, on vocals, I go tape way more than tube. With this, you can actually really dig into it. Keep in mind, saturation makes things louder, and louder sounds better. I should be adjusting the output gain, but it's not how I roll. I'll show you that one on vocals so you can see. Because I do have 2 saturation things on his vocals, even though his vocals don't usually like that.
I can only say sorry. No, that's never good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here. I've disappeared. I'm trapped inside my mind in a thought that
That type of effect sounds really good on most people's voices. It's not shade, he knows it. Yeah, it's really hard to match saturation with his voice. Wow, these are not in a subfolder.
You've been asking. Confessionals evade me.
Do you hear that? Okay, so when this is off, it has that low impact, right? When I roll that off just right, which I did, it disappears.
Confessionals evade me.
And I'm willing to bet that that's what I did in FrontDAW. It's probably the exact spot it needs to be. Anyway. God damn it. So yeah.
Confessionals evade me.
It's crunchy. It sounds like guitar too.
Confessionals evade me.
This less so. Yeah. Okay. And then the third one, which is the most technical one, it might not be for everybody, and it has a little bit of a learning curve, is Crowlabs tube driver. I'll walk you through this one because if you can learn how to use it, it's fucking important. So, this is a pre-EQ. This EQs the signal before it gets saturated. Keep in mind, these are buttons. It's off by default. That's something to note. Also, it has a dry-wet knob, which is super important. So, we're on bass. So, if we do something... So, if we dial in a tone... Bias is like the type of... it's like the texture of it. Say we do that, we can then blend it down. I keep shit usually at like 30. But you're controlling the EQ of the sound of this and then just blending it in a third, which is great. I had that on his voice already. I don't need to add that because I had his 20% again because of his voice. I'm rolling off the low end again, and I'm boosting the mids fairly high.
Confessionals evade me. I can only say sorry.
You hear how it just gives him that little bit of edge?
Mind in a thought that I.
Just that little bit of crunch. That's what it's for. That's what it does. Okay. There's a video about free plugins. This plugin isn't free. I don't remember how much it costs. £40, I think. I got it for free. I use it in every track. It does the same thing those other things do. It just sounds better to me. Some mixes I've done, I will admit, they gave me the stems. I just plopped that on every single track, adjusted the gain accordingly, did maybe a couple EQ tweaks, added some whatever, and that was it. That was my mixing. It was like just this. It just sounds so good. So I'll walk you through it.
Confessionals evade me.
It has that low end roll off. That's what this is. High pass filter.
Confessionals evade.
It wasn't dialed in right.
Confessionals evade
The song
me.
is already done. What can you do? Input gain.
I can only say sorry.
The louder you make it, the crunchier it gets. And then there's British, American, and German saturation types. They all have their own distinct qualities. I'm going to switch over to bass to demonstrate that. I don't have that on bass. Or guitar. I don't have a mix bus for guitar. I'm going to do that real quick. I find it easiest to hear on guitar. And I'll tell you why. It's because guitar has a metric fuck ton of overtones. If you look at guitar on a spectrum meter, it's just a clusterfuck. Whereas if you look at like vocals on a spectrum meter, I know I could have just put this in the master chain.
Say sorry. No, that's never good enough.
You can kind of see a semblance of like
See, I've been drifting away from here. I've disappeared. I'm trapped inside my mind.
like there's patterns to it, and there are with distorted guitar as well. But like, I don't know. It's like it's a lot messier. It's just like a blob. Point being, it's easier to hear what saturation's doing on guitar. Okay. I'm gonna loop a section so it's less confusing. So Mojo is like brightness, sort of. It's like the center of the saturation, and I don't really find it does much. Wow, it really does. not gonna lie. I am not gonna pretend like there's a difference between when I click these buttons. I can hear it sometimes. I cannot hear it for this. A little bit. I'll say usually the British one sounds rougher and darker. The American one sounds the most clean. And the German is somewhere in the middle, though like the high end is a little more broken up. I find the British one's the darkest. I just dead ass do not hear a difference. Like I do a little bit, but not enough. Shit. What's that? Is that a free plugin? Fuzz plus 3, it is, but it's discontinued. This is a fuzz plugin. It's free. It's the best fuzz plugin you'll get. But it's not relevant to this. If you want to know how I made the Swamp Ass and the Meat Sweats record, this was just on every vocal channel, not a joke. Probably set around these settings. That's that on vocals. That's how we made Swamp Ass and the Meat Sweats. Anyway, great free plugin. We're after this. Okay. Yeah, the German one sounds a little more hyped in the high end. They market this plugin, they basically say to use it the way I do use it. Put it on every freaking channel, and then you can kind of shape the overall sound of the mix with this. If you want it to be brighter, if you want it to be darker. And that is how I use it, and I do hear a difference. However, it is subtle. Like, I'm not going to pretend like it's crazy. That's saturation. That's super important, and I think often overlooked. And I'm sure I didn't explain it the best way. But the takeaway is find a saturation that works for you, plop it down on a channel, almost every channel, make it subtle, barely hear it. The idea isn't that you're changing the tone of that that track individually. It's that you're changing the overall warmth of everything combined. You add a little crunch here and there to every single track before you compress it, before you put reverb and shit on it. And eventually that adds up to like a fuller, warmer sounding mix that's a little easier on the ears than like super stale electronic stuff. Speaking of reverb, I'm pretty sure Little Plate isn't free. I couldn't find a good free reverb plugin. I'm sorry. Best I can do is I will tell you about a great free delay plugin. That I can do. Let me remove some of these fucking effects. Okay. So, Baby Audio. I'm going to shout them out specifically. Baby Audio is a weird company because they make plugins that they're not bread and butter. They're all sort of weird and specific. And you look at them and you're like, okay, that's cute, that's novelty. But they're just on everything that I do. They're so important. It's so weird to me. I've bought all of them at this point. And like, you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, I can see that sort of being like a quirky, fun little, it's like, I can't believe how much I use this goddamn plugin. So, this is a delay that they make. Like, it's a delay. Delays are delays. I shouldn't have to tell you how to use delays because everybody can just hear what they do and know. But the ducker is cool. So what the ducker will do is, if you turn it up, it will bring down the level of the delays when there's a signal happening. Confessionals evade me. And then the reverb, the delays come. That's awesome. Super cool, super useful. Also, ping pong delay. Use it whenever you can. Use it whenever you can get away with it. It's so much fun. It's great. why cheap, analog, saucy, whatever. You can do some fun things.
Evade me.
So yeah, the not free version of this is also great. It has a lot of options. The not free version of this, what is it called? Comeback Kid, is my go-to delay, and it replaced a really good delay. It's awesome. While we're on baby audio, I have to mention their other free plugin called Magic Switch. I cannot explain. It's a chorus, okay? So what a chorus does is it layers a whole bunch of slightly misaligned things.
Confessionals evade me.
Oops, sorry.
I can only say sorry.
In a way that I do not understand, and in a way that I've never seen replicated. Download this, try it on everything. I can't express how much use it gets. I don't even know why or how. I put it on synth leads. I tend to put it on guitar leads. If I'm doubling vocals, I will put that on it to flesh out the doubles a bit. Like, this week I tried putting it on lead vocals just to see how it would sound. I don't know, man. These people just know how to make good thing. I'm not even going to get into chorus in general, but I'm going to mention that one specifically because, like, holy hell. Reverb, people kind of, you know what Reverb is. I can't really recommend. There are free Reverb plugins out there. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I couldn't find one that ever stuck with me. There's the, I guess this is kind of shitty. I'm gonna not shout out. Like, there's the Valhalla Supermassive. Is that the free one? I just couldn't do anything I liked with it. I don't know. I couldn't. I'm not a reverb expert, but I've explained it like there was the old ways of making reverb, which is you take the signal and you physically put it through a spring. That's spring reverb, and it makes it bouncy sounding. It's like if we were making a Nirvana cover band or whatever, I'd probably put a spring reverb on the vocals. There's plate reverb, which physically took the signal and ran it through a big ass metal plate. If you're looking for a reverb, what channel are we on? Oh, probably, okay. This isn't free. I don't know how much it is. But Soundtoys Little Plate is really straightforward, and it is such a freaking solid reverb.
Confessionals evade me. I can only say sorry.
You could foreseeably mix anything and everything with just this. I find it a little dark because I do a decent amount of like modern sounding productions where I need something a little more brighter and versatile. But if you're like just starting out, I would honestly say if you're gonna spend money, one of the only things I would spend money on that I don't think there's a free alternative to is Little Plate. It's fucking amazing. Then we get into reverbs that like are beyond sort of like the old hardware units, like Convolution Reverb. I guess you call them digital reverb. It's like reverb that's not imitating a thing. It's just like a reverb. Ones that like emulate halls and stuff. This is the one I use. It's expensive. I can recommend it. I like it, but like I wouldn't say spend the amount of money that I did to get it. It shouldn't be your first reverb. It's just cool because it has like a EQ shaper and shit on it. And then there's IR reverbs, which digitally capture a space. So you have like a cathedral. Some nerd went and set up a mic and set up a speaker and sent all these waves and pulses through to capture that. That's IR reverb. It has this place. Unfortunately, I don't have any, therefore I don't use it. I use Convolution Reverb. I tend to use FabFilter. It's sort of like Chromaverb on Logic. If you have Logic and you have Chromaverb, just use Chromaverb. It's really fun and really cool. And you have Space Designer. You're lucky. Those are two really good reverbs. I never found alternatives. Okay. I'm going to try to go over this briefly because this is going to appeal to less people, but you can get a very solid emulated guitar tone with free plugins. So, you know how I mentioned Nick Crowlabs in the tube thing. Another great plugin he makes is a 5150 copy called the 8505. It's fairly similar to a 5150, other than you can adjust where the mid-range is boosted or scooped, which is super cool. It's better than the Guitar Rig 5150 copy. It just is. There's no way around it. I'm going to swap this out for this. That's the Guitar Rig one. I'm just using a Tube Screamer. Like, it's a Tube Screamer. I don't know. Okay, and then Mikko Ml Sound Lab. This is not an IR cab. It's like a algorithmic one. I don't know. Look up ML Sound Lab and see how he made this. It's pretty cool. They offer a free version. It's just the Mesa 412 with a 57. But it's enough. Like, it's enough. I'm actually gonna unmute this. So if I take these out, for free plugins, it's a pretty fucking solid tone. I love the 5150, so maybe I'm biased. I find this is a fairly accurate representation of the 5150. It's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. I don't, the tiredness is setting in. Let me see if I'm not sure if I can recommend the Air Windows plugins, because it's one dude, and he makes a shit ton of plugins, and a lot of them are really neat. However, I haven't gone through a lot of them. Okay, I use his De-Esser. Actually, that's the only De-Esser I use. And you have to watch his video on how to operate it because it's confusing, but it is a very, very good vocal De-Esser. If you don't know what De-Esser is, basically, when you compress a vocal signal, it picks up a lot of T's and S's, and they're really fucking harsh. And if you are layering compression or you're doing harsh compression, especially with a bright microphone like a condenser, you will hear that shit. And his D-Best 64 is a little nuts because you put it at the end of the signal chain. So even if it's just washed out in reverb, he's like, yeah, put it at the end. It's cool, man. I don't know. It's cool. It works. It's the only De-Esser I think I'll ever need. And I used to use his limiter, but there's a reason I don't anymore because I found a better free one. We'll get there. Okay, Dirty Filter. This is the other BDP one that I really like. So a filter is an EQ with a more specific purpose. This filter is very similar to the synth filter on the Korg. Oh god, this one. So put this in your DAW and automate these. I put this on drums. I put this on every transition. From anything after technotheism that you're gonna hear, anytime stuff cuts out and there's like a guitar riff, it's this, okay? And also any of the synths, actually. Most of the synths now, since I just do virtual synths, is this. And it's just this automated with these two things. It has an overdrive built in. That's not a fundamental, but holy hell is it great. Alright. Compression, EQ. I think we've covered most of the basics. There are some really cool miscellaneous free plugins. A lot of texture things. I'm just gonna like kind of run through a list of, I guess, stuff that I use to add texture. Okay, tone rig instability.
Confessionals evade me. I can only say sorry.
This fucks with
No, it's
amplitude
never good enough.
and tuning in the stereo field. You can make stuff sound old, you can make stuff sound textured. Same goes for vinyl. I'm pretty sure the Isotope vinyl is free. That's another really fun one. You can make it sound old and warped.
I can only say sorry.
The pitch goes up and down. I use that on orchestral things to make them sound old. It's how I cheat. That's not a joke. People fall for it. Check this out. You can't see this, but I'm putting this on the master channel.
It's never good enough. So now we're drifting away from here. I disappear.
It's fun. It's not like, I don't know, it's not like this gets put on every mix or anything, you know, but like it's pretty something. Crush is a bit crusher. This is not a mix tool, but it is a really damn good bit crusher. Best one I've ever used.
Confessionals evade me.
Like, you're not going to use that as mixing, but still, I just have to shout it out because it's great. La Petite Excite by Fine Cut Bodies. Look this up. If you can download it, download it. Be subtle with it. Do this. Play around with it. Just trust me. It's hyped, and it's hyped for a reason. However, last time I was there, the website was broken, and I had to message him directly to get it. So a couple mastering tools. So there's Isotope Ozone Imager, which basically just takes the stereo field and moves it.
So
Mono, more stereo. So if you want to control backing vocals, you want to control how far guitars are spread, stuff like that, great stereo imaging plugin. There's not much to knowing how to use that other than don't fucking overdo it. Don't use it unless you need to. If you want to make a mix sound more modern and wide, set it to like this. Like, your vocals will get lost, so be careful. If you're going to do that, make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, last, Limiter 6, which is it's an association with TDR or whatever, Tokyo Dawn Records. This is a mastering limiter, and I can't believe it's free because it's really damn good. Basically, it's modular. There's a compressor, a limiter. So compressors, dynamically, they squish down the signal. So if you have a signal that's really loud and really soft, a compressor just limits that. It squishes it down. So like a 3-to-1 is like, I think, I mean, I'm not math. I think it's like for every 1 decimal for every 3 decibels over the limit, it's reduced by 1 or whatever, it's past the threshold, I think. All a limiter does is, it's not a ratio, it just fucking flattens it. So like once it hits that point, that's just what it is. So pop mixes and anything contemporary and loud is what's called brick wall limiting, which is essentially like the waveforms don't look like this anymore. They just look like a square. They look more like this. In stages, that's what this does. This is a compressor, peak limiter, clipper, which just cuts off the transients, and then protection. If nothing else, when you're doing anything, just turn all these off and have protection on -0.3, exactly how it's already set. And one of these, which is just pure speaker and ear protection. These settings are a little extreme, but once you've learned how to use this, you can squeeze a lot of loudness out of your master without it sounding like garbage. And it's such a good plugin. It's amazing that it is free. Okay. I think that's my overview. The thing is, I have a lot, like, there are a lot of amazing free plugins. Like, go to the Bedroom Producers blog that I've mentioned a few times because they have their own products, but they also have the best, most comprehensive list of, like, amazing free plugins. There's free synths and, like, a whole bunch of stuff. But this is just what I use for what I do. So keep in mind these vocal tracks, he already compressed them a little, which is why you don't see more compression on here. But if I get something and it's completely raw, here's what I'm doing. I'm popping on my Saturator. Here. This is going to be the summary of how I do things generally. So, I get a whole bunch of raw vocal or raw stems. This is what I'm doing to everything. Comes in, saturation.
Confessionals evade me.
If it's really quiet, if I got it and all of them are like this,
I can only say sorry.
I'm bumping it till it's just a little bit crunchy, because that's how I like things to sound. I'm going to roll off any unnecessary low frequencies.
Confessionals evade me.
If it's hi-hats or whatever and it needs to be up here, fine, it's up there. And then this is to taste, depending on what I want the ending mix to sound like. I think that's just it takes time to know it thing. I'm going to pop that back because I like seeing waveforms.
Been away from here, I've disappeared. I'm trapped inside my...
Okay. Then compression.
Confessionals evade me. I can only say sorry.
I usually keep 80% blend. That's just how I am. I don't know.
No, that's never good enough.
Gain reduction depends on how much I want to slam it. Now, the guy singing doesn't usually compress more than, I think, 3 or 4 to 1. I usually won't go more than like 20, but like, for 8 to 1, and it already has compression on it.
Away from here.
Just how I be. Now, if this wasn't already compressed, I would put another compressor on it, if necessary, to do a different thing. EQ, to shape how it's sitting in the mix.
Confessionals evade me. Confessionals evade me.
You hear the frequency it's boosting?
I can only say sorry. No, it's never good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here. I've disappeared.
It's not doing much. However, I used to use compression to try to make things punch through the mix. That's not what you need to do. You need to just find the frequency that needs to live the most. Just bump it up a little so it's just got its place with everything else. From there, as just a general mix thing,
I can only say sorry. No, that's never good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here. I've disappeared.
and like we're talking not just vocals but just about anything. This might go later. In fact, you know what? Yeah, I'd probably put this after, so I'd be adding reverb.
No, that's never good enough. See, I've been drifting away from here.
And then, if anything is ringing or annoying, I go in with a more strategic
Confessionals evade me.
surgical EQ.
I can only say sorry.
2 EQs. One is to make one shapes tone and one makes the ears hurt less, I guess. And again, Matt's voice is it's very smooth and very even. It's not the best example, I'm sorry. In general, that's like on the high end of what I'd be doing to tracks. Obviously, like these guitars are I'm sampling them, so like they have to be the signal chain. But for example, so these are just absolutely dry. That has nothing on them. It's just a plexi tone. Interesting. What about this? Okay, so the chorus comes in, and the guitars get an extra layer when that happens. They're wide. They're just to thicken up the chorus. So I'm using Ozone Imager slammed because I just want those sides because it's already covered. Just to widen it up. This doesn't matter which order those two go in. Just a little bit of crunch. Oh, right, I didn't explain this. Oh my god, editing this is going to be a nightmare. This Slick EQ, just look at these settings and copy them on guitar. If you like how it sounds, great, because I do. This is usually how I EQ distorted guitar. I just do this. I roll off somewhere around 1,000. I tend to boost 85. Well, no, I don't. That should be off. Mid-cut here, boost around here, or like anywhere from here to here, depending on what you want your guitars to do. And then actually, usually I do Soviet Russia, but whatever. I basically only use this EQ for guitars like this. It does make a difference. Like a lot. I don't know why. It just sounds great on guitar. Yeah, like if that's all guitars need, then that's all guitars need, you know? Don't force it. Same with drums, so like... Okay. This is on a lot of channels. It's a tape saturation. It's also really expensive. You can probably sub in BDP saturator tape at like 7 or something every channel. I don't know. This does more than that. It can also do like detune stuff, but anyway, ignore that. So this is the overall drum bus. Cutting off the low end, but remember there's kick drums, so it can't be too high because that's not a kick. And then a little bit of low end mud filtering out. I have one compressor, which honestly tends to sound better with it turned off. It's a bad habit. So kick, we have that saturation that I showed you, but I'm going to use mine because I like it better. Oh, right. Okay, so this doesn't need to be there. This doesn't need to be there. Boosting the lows. That's all the kick's doing, man. Like, saturation, strategic EQ. And then again, you're not going to be able to hear a difference with tape. I am also setting a bus. Oh, that's just a reverb. Never mind, turn that off. Snare. Got a compressor. Fairly high attack because I want it to pop. Low release because I want it to growl. This is just filtering out some highs. And then this to bring out the sustainment. That's it. That's all it's doing. Overheads. A little bit of reverb. Just to make it shine. That can be off. Doesn't matter. We don't need it. However, I do use this type of EQ a lot. It's boosting the high end quite a bit. Why is that? It's taking out the high end. That's stupid. So I could have just not done that. I guess I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, it's like not a lot. It's just like strategic, kind of placing stuff exactly where it needs to be. Yeah, and that's basically it for everything. Like, it's just it's a few little tools. I'm sorry, I rely really heavily on Pultec style EQs. Yeah, maybe hopefully you can find a free one. If you can, maybe I'll do some research so that you can copy my Pultec settings, because I do use this a lot. Like this is how I do guitars, maybe like that. Most of the mixing and production process can be like, sound design is one thing. If you're mixing and this dude really loves his pedal board or he really loves his synth sound, like, don't get in the way of that unless it sounds like garbage. Your job is to take it and just do what you need to make it sit in the mix. So you get something like that. Again, saturation. I don't know if it's just a me thing. I know other people do it, but it's like I don't think a lot of people do it as religiously as I do. That synth stem or guitar sound or whatever drum recording comes in. Saturation, your compression, if you don't need to control dynamics, like look at this. Like you see these waveforms, you don't need to compress that. It is already as compressed as it's going to be, right? Like it's just a solid line all the way through. So like there's no point in slapping a compressor on that. Like tonally, yes, you could. Like I'm not going to say you can't, because you can do like if you do this, you can make a growl. Just use a saturation. Don't get weird. So you don't need to do that. For drums, obviously you will. You want a compressor that tames the transients. So one that starts and ends really fast, and then one that's more for tone shaping, that's slower, or like shaping, I guess. The Kush Audio, I've recommended this before. The Kush Audio how to hear compression video is really good. And then your EQ goals are basically make it sound, fix anything that's wrong with it, which means, strategic tone cutting, if that's the thing. EQ boosting, just to kind of make that life sort of sit in the mix. That just depends, like sometimes you don't need to EQ guitar, sometimes it's overkill and it just hurts your ears. It just depends. Vocals almost always need EQ unless you've got like this absolutely amazing singer, but in general I'll use a Pultec to just boost the overall high end, like high shelf, and sometimes you don't even need to if you're using like a TLM 103 like what I have. It's really bright. And just like, my voice specifically, it has this really ringy, annoying resonance in the 8K, so I just know to cut that. Matt's doesn't, so I can't show you. But yeah, say for like a synth, it sounds really boxy or whatever. Just notch out 300, just like if you get a really boxy sounding synth that otherwise sounds good, just do a little boop, see how it sounds. Go through, so like say this plexi. So like it's painful because it's a layer, but like what sounds annoying? Oh, that sounds fucking annoying. Smooth it out. That's sort of where it lives. Boost it there. You hear how that really gritty, shitty, terrible sound is gone now? That like, it's gone. This is just a really subtle layer. That's why it's like that, by the way, is because it's like one of a bajillion guitar sounds. But yeah, and then that's all you need to do for EQ. If people are like, you get an EQ and it's just like, okay, well, by default, what the yeah, okay. It's just like, well, I just generally like do a blah, 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 like whatever. It's just, you can't do the same thing every time. It depends on the signal. It's as simple as that. Yeah, EQ, compression, reverb, it's more of a stylistic thing, and it's like a taste thing. Just matching the reverb to the source is incredibly important. I don't tend to put reverb on distorted guitars, but sometimes I do. When I do, it'll tend to be like a realistic one. But something absolutely critical is that the tone and the EQ of especially vocals should match up with that type of reverb. Like your reverb is, you know, if it's blended 30-40%, it's 30-40% of your fucking vocal tone. So like they need to match. You can't just like slap on whatever reverb you want and just be like, okay, cool, you know. They are so important. They need to mesh like crazy. It's, I would argue, if you're going to use reverb, it's more important than EQ because it's filling in your inconsistencies of like any individual voice, or it's accentuating them and making them sound tinny and awful and terrible. And same with, I mean, it's more forgiving with like synths or whatever. In generally, you can slap a like that little plate on a whatever any synth and it sounds great. But there's Native Instruments Room, which I got it for free, but it's not free, so I didn't talk about it. But it has the amazing ability to like, it can make some vocals or synths sound amazing, but it can also make them sound painful like immediately. It has this bright high end build up. Oh, my bad. Let's try that again. Which on that it actually sounds fine, but man, it can just accumulate so quickly, and like it sounds nice on its own, but in a mix, it will just like murder your ears very, very quickly. Like you need to know when to match that up. You can't just slap any reverb on anything. That is important. Also, pro tip: high and low cut your delays. You should be bussing the, you know, so I don't do this because I have a ridiculously insane computer, but in general, add a bus and then make the, oh, it's off screen, whatever, and then put that in your delays, so any delays just all go to that one bus, and just like high and low cut them. They should just live in the mids because I said so. Yeah. And that's like really all I'll do. Anything past that, I consider like creative sound design. You're like your choruses, or like what else, any of those weird stuff that I showed you, that's like, you know, that's sort of like it's a fun slash last resort. If I'm just doing like a meat and potatoes ass mix, I'm not gonna reach for those. That's a creative decision to do that. It's just like saturation for overall mix quality. EQ, compression, of course, how I explained. Reverb delay, if appropriate. Balance those all out. Give them all space to breathe. And then master, if you're just like going for it and you're just slapping something out. Do that same thing with EQ. Filter it out. Find the frequencies that hurt your ears. And just cut them a little bit. This might sound like shit because I changed all the guitars around. Alright. Master EQ. Do that into a fairly slam limiter if you're trying to make a mix that doesn't sound quiet. And any of those frequency buildups, filter them out there. It should be compressor, EQ, limiter, which also has a compressor in it, but you know. Yeah. That just comes with practice. I'm not even that good at it yet, but I'm getting there. That should be somewhere to a good mix. I'm gonna go to bed.